This is Unspoiled Special Edition, in which we are covering Stranger Things, Season 1, Episode 3, Chapter 3, Holly Jolly. In this episode, we get to see a little bit of where Barb and Will are, and it is freaky as fuck. Welcome to Unspoiled Special Edition.
Yeah, I didn't like that. I wanted that to not be happening.
Were you surprised by that? Like, when the episode started off that way?
Yeah, I was. It wasn't what I expected. I didn't expect it to go into an immediate exploration of what happened with Barb.
Mm-hmm.
It did not at all. I also was like, why are there snowflakes?
Right.
That was the thing that was really freaking me out for whatever reason. I was like, it's dark, but there's like snowflakes, sort of.
Yeah, it's like it's pollen or
yeah, I don't know. Super, super weird. But poor Barb. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
God, it was just awful. It was so, I wasn't expecting, it was the first time they'd really started with something actively freaky in like a violent way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, the first episode, to an extent, starts with Will, but you don't see any. It's just creepy.
Right.
Whereas she's, like, screaming.
Yeah.
And getting, like, pulled down. Ah.
Oh, my God.
Ooh.
And the thing that I really liked about this was that clearly Nancy can hear her a little.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was so creepy.
That, like, she stops but she, it's an echo. It's like she can't even tell if she really heard it. So she just keeps on making out.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, you understand why, but it's happening right there. Did you realize that she was in the pool at first?
It took me a second. Yeah. I figured it out because she was climbing the ladder, I think, was the part where I was definitely like, okay, I'd already kind of gotten that from the fact that you could sort of tell that Nancy was like, like the fact that she could hear a little bit, sort of, almost, that I was like, okay, the fact that it was like literally like the negative side, the flip side of the pool, for what, I mean, I don't know what that really means, but you know what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
And the whole scene was just really well done. It was really well choreographed. Everything that Steve was doing was somehow paralleling this horrible thing that was happening in the pool. It was really creepy and awful. Although, to Steve's credit, he does compliment her a tiny bit while he's fucking her. So that's a step up for Steve.
Oh, man.
He doesn't get up when she's leaving.
No.
And I was like, come on, John Ralphio. Like, come on, pull it together. Give her a kiss goodbye, something.
He's
poor
like
girl.
Too unconscious to even be aware that she's leaving.
Super, super, yeah. So she leaves in this just horrible state of mind. I felt really bad for her.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people, I was going to say women, but not even necessarily just women, but the feeling of this should have been more after your first time is probably a pretty universal feeling.
Right.
There are some people for whom it was different, and good for them. And I'm not even saying that in a way that I regret the way that mine happened, because I actually had that feeling a little less than a lot of people I knew. But there's definitely something to be said for losing your virginity in a stage of your life where you have to then run home and pretend to have not been doing anything and, be by, and then you have to go to bed by yourself,
Right. Right.
So, yeah. But when she gets up and leaves, she passes the pool and you can tell that she feels like something happened. Like there's this odd feeling in the pit of her stomach. And yeah, when you said that it took you a little while to figure it out, same for me. I didn't realize until she started crawling the ladder. And then when I realized that she was in this other version, I just kind of freaked out. I was just like, wait, what? They
Yeah.
made it so much worse for her
Yeah.
to basically be right there.
And
And,
then not. Yeah.
yeah.
And because it was such a nice, I thought it was such a nice tie-in to the previous episode where Elle flips the board over.
Mm-hmm.
And that's seeing this with Barb in sort of the alternate dimension pool. I was like, oh, she's being pretty literal. Like,
Yep.
it's just the flip side
Yep.
but it's the same place, but like turned inside out. Yeah.
Yep.
Um,
So, yeah, then Nancy goes home and her mom has been waiting for her, as moms do.
I like that a lot.
Yep.
That was one of the most realistic things I've seen in this all. I had that experience. I very much had that experience.
Oh, yeah.
The
Yep.
coming upstairs and there's your mom at the top of the stairs. And
going, okay, so which story do you want to tell me?
right. And
Yeah.
my mom didn't really even say anything. Like, it was 2:00 in the morning, and we'd actually been. We were in a car in my driveway. Like, we weren't even like off anywhere. We'd gotten home. I just figured my parents were asleep and paying
Okay.
attention, so we were just making out in the car
Gotcha.
downstairs for a long time. And so I don't know how long my mom was standing there, like, they're still in that car.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Like, I still am like, oh shit, how long was she standing
She
there?
goes and gets a magazine, comes back.
Yeah, right.
Ugh.
And so I come upstairs and she's standing there, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
And she doesn't even say anything. She just says, I think from now on you need to be home by midnight. And by home, I mean inside by midnight. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, it's not unreasonable.
And then she was like, and you may pass. Go to sleep now.
Yeah, my mom was not that reasonable. She got real flipped out if I wasn't home right away, and she had no sense of what was actually an appropriate like time for me to be home. She gave me curfews that were like hours earlier than anybody else.
Right.
And it was really frustrating because nobody wanted to leave. So it was like, if she didn't want to come and get me, which was pretty frequent because my mom is a shut-in, and when she gets home, she just wants to stay home.
Be home, yeah.
It was like I could never find a ride because nobody wanted to leave at that fucking time.
Yeah.
So it was really frustrating because I am a good kid. And, yeah, maybe I was fucking around a little bit, but I was going to be doing that anywhere. And staying out late was really not the thing to like be worried about for me.
Right.
And there was no way to like get her to budge on that except to just ignore it, which I did frequently because I was just like, you know what? I'm out here with a bunch of people who are getting stoned and wasted, and I'm not even drinking or
You're
smoking.
not, yeah.
So I'm not really feeling bad about this.
Right. In my situation, it was my mom just not even, it hadn't occurred to her yet that I would need a curfew.
Mm-hmm.
So I was 14. But my boyfriend was 18.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And it just like hadn't clicked for her because he didn't act 18 and she'd known him a long time. And she just was like, oh, nothing's going to happen. And then she's like, and we need a curfew.
Yep.
That's neat. But, the mom here is mad at first. And then she picks up on how unsettled Nancy is and changes tactics immediately.
Yep.
Which I also really liked because that was sort of also how my mom was, more of the just tell us what happened.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to be mad, but something's obviously upsetting you and we want to know, and you can talk to us about anything. And I know that came up more often with my sister. There was a lot more of like, if you go to a party and there's drinking and you're drinking or whatever and things get bad and you need to come home, just call us and we will come get you. We're not going to be mad. You just need to be responsible and call us and we'll come get you.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't come up as often with me for a variety of reasons. But I liked how the mom wasn't just like super yelly mom.
Yeah.
She's in tune with her daughter and her daughter's just shutting her out. And that's hard for the mom, clearly. Like, I want to help. Why won't you let me help? But you
Mm-hmm.
can't because, like we talked about, kids don't listen. They don't hear.
Yep. Yeah, they don't. Because we always think that we're fooling them. Like that's something that I think back on all these times that I thought I was getting away with stuff, and I realize now that my mom probably knew exactly what the fuck was going on. You
Yeah.
know, like there was the when I lost my virginity, this was one of these things. The boyfriend at the time, I was 14, he was 16, and he called me and he was like, "I think my dad knows." And I'm like, "How can he know?" And he's like, "I don't know. I just got home." And he was like, "So, anything you want to talk about?" And I was like, "No." And he gave me this really weird look for a minute. And then he just goes, "You think we don't know, but we know."
Oh shit.
And he said that's all his dad said, and then he walked away. And I was like, how can, because it had just happened, you know, like,
Right.
and he was like, "I don't know. It's freaking me out."
Yeah. Yeah, my dad's mildly psychic about stuff like that. Which, for the most part, he just didn't engage with. He
Mm-hmm.
was like, I don't want to talk about this.
Yep.
But he knew.
He's like, "I know, and I would really rather not. So I'll just pretend
Right.
I don't."
Right. Um, but yeah, I think it's, as a parent, you have to go through the whole choose your battles phase with little kids, like
Mm-hmm.
not get on them about every single thing,
Mm-hmm.
because then your life will just be miserable.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe there's a certain level of that when you're parenting a teenager. It's very much like, okay, pick your battles. Which
Mm-hmm.
things are going to be dangerous?
Yeah.
Which things are going to be destructive and really harmful? And which things are normal and we're just going to have to deal with it?
Yep.
And I'm not looking forward to that. But, parents have to, a lot of parents are just going to be like, well, they're drinking and they're smoking. And as long as they're doing it in a situation where it's relatively safe, I'm not going to jump all over them all the
Mm-hmm.
time because it's just going to make them do it more. And, I can tell that this mom is not a super intense mom
Yeah.
about stuff, but, she was out all night.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
I
gotta
kind
say
of,
something.
I like the fact that they managed to get across that this mom isn't like as totally what's the word I'm looking for? Almost like lazy as her husband is.
Oh, right.
But she's still not quite as connected.
No.
You know, it's different than say like Joyce and Will and Jonathan.
Mm-hmm.
Like the connection that she has with them feels much more real and like immediate.
Right.
So it kind of makes sense that so much of what happens is happening right in Nancy's house's basement
Right. And
because
she's just totally
she
not even.
doesn't know any of it's
Yeah.
happening. Yeah.
Yeah, she seems like she has good intentions.
Hmm.
That's what I'll say about her.
Yeah.
She has good intentions. What's that mom's name? Nancy, Mike's mom.
I don't know. Peggy?
I'm spacing on it. No, you're just saying that because you probably just watched Agent Carter. It's not
I
Peggy.
didn't watch Agent Carter, but she looks like a Peggy.
Okay.
I'm like, let me look.
I know the actress's name is Kara, so I kind of just want to call her that. But I stopped calling Winona, so I guess I should give this woman that much respect as well.
Respect. Okay, let's see. Kara is her real name?
Yeah, Kara Buono or something like that.
I can't even. IMDb has their picture so damn tiny, it's like I can't even see.
Right.
Um, she's probably further down the list. Yeah, I'm not seeing her. What the hell?
Okay, well, we can move on. It's not super, super important.
Um, well, okay, so then we go to Joyce's house. Can I just say that they really, her name is Karen. The mom's name is
Okay,
Karen.
that seems
Um,
great.
they really nail the vibe of a house that's neglected simply because people are just too goddamn busy trying to live.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like there's this metal like hanging swing outside that's
Yeah.
like all rusted and
Yep.
just it's just a bunch of stuff in the yard. The paint is peeling off of the house. Like it's just got this feel of like, and it's not, things are like neat. Like it's not like it's a total mess and there's all kinds of crap everywhere.
But they're
But
just not keeping up with the
yeah,
what it means to have a house to take care of, right?
yeah, anything that takes money to repair, like
It's
repainting or
not
whatever, it's
happening.
not
Yeah.
happening. And Jonathan wakes up because he hears his mom, and she's in Will's room with all of these lamps around her, with all the shades taken off so the bulbs are exposed, talking to thin air, and she looks
Hmm.
really bananas.
Yeah. That was
Um,
my favorite line in the whole episode is when he's trying to like chill her out and she just goes, maybe if I got more lamps
oh my
and like
god.
gets up to go walk away and he's like, no, 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 no. But
Yep.
just the way she said it sounds so unhinged, but
Mhm.
at the same time, like she thinks she's had this brilliant idea, like maybe if I get more lamps,
Yeah.
then it'll all come together. And he's like, oh my God, what's happening? Why? What do I do? He seems so
I
lost.
feel so bad for him because you can tell that he's like just so saddened and alone right now.
Yeah.
And the moment the bulb lights up and she's like, "Did you see that?" And he's like, "It's electricity, Mom." Like
Right.
he's just so bummed out that he has to do this. Um so yeah, he finally gets up and leaves. Um and then we go to the basement, the Wheeler's basement. And they're sitting there trying to figure out what the hell they're going to do.
Right.
Um and this is basically picking up right after she flipped the board over.
Right.
And they're talking about how they're going to defeat the, what is it called? Demogorgon?
Yeah, I was going to say the Gorga something or other. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gorgon sounds right.
And Lucas has this wrist rocket, which looks awesome. I have never seen one of those.
No.
But they're figuring out all the stuff that they're going to take. And Lucas is all about the weapons, but Dustin dumps out his
A
backpack
whole
and
bunch
has
of
all kinds of
food.
food.
There's Pringles. I love the can of old, like, super old school Pringles can.
Yes.
That was so funny.
Dustin is my spirit animal. I love him the most. He's the one before any of them, really. He's obviously started to get interested in girls.
Yeah.
And he's got his, appetites, let's just say. All of them. He's got them. And I'm just like, yo, I feel you, bro.
Mm.
And he goes and gets the toy. Oh my God. What is the name of Han's ship?
Oh, the Millennium Falcon. Oh my
Yes.
God.
Which is awesome looking. It's really
Oh yeah.
big.
Oh my God. Those things were so cool. All the Star Wars Kenner toys. I think it was Kenner who came out with them in the early 80s. They were so cool. All my friends who had them were my absolute favorite friends, and I always wanted to go to their houses. The Millennium Falcon was amazing. The Ewok Village was amazing.
That sounds
Uh,
amazing.
Jabba's Palace was amazing. Like they just had all these fantastic toys. But yeah, the big Millennium Falcon was, yeah, that
And
was
he's trying to get her to hover
to
it, and she's
levitate it.
just looking at him like,
Oh my
oh.
God, the look on her face is hilarious in this scene where he's like, all right, go, and like drops it, and she just stares at him.
This little girl that they cast is so amazing.
So good. Oh
Um,
man.
and yeah, she looks at him, but then later on we see her and she's alone in the house and she's totally levitating it.
Yep.
And I'm just like, oh, you're the best.
Yes.
She's like, I'll do it, but not because you said.
Yeah, she's like, I'm not your dancing monkey. I'm not
Yeah.
going to just levitate a Millennium Falcon because you tell me to. Who are you? Get it. She just has no interest. She's just looking at him so completely uninterested.
Oh my God.
No.
So yeah, they give her. Mike gives her a watch and tells her to meet them at 3:30 at this location, and they take off because it's school time. And we see Nancy arriving at school. She has a really old school, one of those fold-over trapper keepers.
Oh my God, the foldover trapper keeper. That was my other favorite detail of this episode was this girl with the foldover trapper keeper with like stickers on it, like
Yes.
glittery stickers and stuff. And I'm like, you are so not mature enough to be doing it. Like, I'm just looking at her like, if you got a Trapper Keeper with stickers on it, there should not be a penis inside you. Like, just, I can't. Like, I had one of those when I was 7. It's just it's such a sign of like, this is still a middle school person who is now doing high school stuff. She's really trying, but she's just not there yet. She's got that Trapper Keeper. Oh, I loved it.
Yeah, I think back to like the panties that I used to wear when I was like starting to get laid. And I think that some of them even still had like cartoons on them and stuff.
Right.
You know, just like so not okay, but this is life. Such is life. So yeah, she's feeling real awkward, like she thinks everybody knows.
Right.
And Steve comes up and is like, I didn't tell anybody, and I think he's being perfectly honest about that.
Yeah,
and
I liked him a lot more in this episode. I mean, he does some douchey stuff at the end, but for relatively reasonable reasons. But I thought, part of me thought he was totally just going to blow her off. And he didn't. He's like, he comes to her locker. He says he has a fun time. She comes and sits with him at lunch. Like, it's totally like the thing she's going to do now. Like, she's his girlfriend. And he's not trying to push her away. Like, she's just, you know, a notch on his
belt
or his headboard or wherever they put notches.
Post.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Like, and this is what I mean about like being like, oh, he's such a douche. But then you're like, well, yeah, but maybe he's just a douche because he's a kid. Like,
right.
It's hard to tell sometimes.
Right.
And it's like they actually have really good chemistry together, the two of them.
Yeah.
Like, they kiss in front of her locker, and there's this vibe of both of them sort of like, and he points at the butterflies on her, you know, and I was just like, oh, I didn't even catch that the first time.
Yeah, I like that too. Like, there's suddenly a level of affection that really wasn't there before they boned. And I kind of liked that. I was like, oh, he's the opposite of every other guy in the world. He's kind of a little bit more into her now. I like that.
Yeah, it's like, I feel like this show, because I've seen people say that they found her storyline the least compelling, Nancy's. And while I get what they mean, I was just constantly pleasantly surprised by how they took things that felt really like this is just how it's going to go, and they just didn't do that.
Yeah, they twerked a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. So, because later on there's the scene with Jonathan, and like, there's a part of me that was like, yeah, but like, I'm not entirely on either side, you know?
Right. Like, so, yeah, he should not have been taking those pictures.
Yeah.
And Steve is defending her honor. Like, he's not just doing it to be a villain in an 80s movie, which is sort of what he comes off like. But at the same time, that's a reasonable reaction to finding out that some guy was peeping on your girl. And, you know, he doesn't really get the emotional repercussions of breaking that camera, because obviously that camera is the most expensive thing that Jonathan owns.
Yep.
I mean, that's just heartbreaking. And even Nancy, you can see as upset and kind of betrayed as you can see her feeling. She still has a certain amount of pity for him in that moment. It's interesting the way they did that whole scene. Meanwhile, Steve's friends are just the worst.
His friends are pure evil.
They are pure evil. Like, I don't know where they got these people from, but they are just, they're completely irredeemable in every way. They're disgusting.
But
just,
yeah,
I want to punch him in the face. Like, when the girl starts like mocking her at the lunch table, I would have like reached across the table and throttled her. I would have been like, are you fucking kidding me? What is the matter with you?
Yeah, yep. Oh,
they're awful.
And I like too that, like, yeah, he's defending her honor, but it doesn't feel like he's doing that against Nancy's wishes.
Right.
Like, it's not like Nancy's like, hey, stop it. And he's just like, no, this guy was doing such and such.
Right.
It's not like he's stepping in where it feels like he's unwanted or taking over her role. Right. She's standing there with her arms crossed in front of herself, like she feels like she doesn't even want to talk to him about this because she's so humiliated.
Yeah.
And he's stepping up because he can tell that she feels powerless, so he's going to do it for her, which I liked that he's taking his cue from her, clearly. And it's not just his, like, male ego.
Right.
That's, it's also, he's looking at her and being like, yeah, no, she's clearly upset
Hurt
by
her,
this.
yeah.
So but at the same time, like you said, this is the most expensive thing he owns. And for, like, the obviously rich, or at least upper middle class, perfectly comfortable jock to be destroying the property of somebody who's got nothing also is just kind of gross. So there's all kinds of things going on there. But I just liked how it is not a straightforward, he's just getting bullied because he's different situation.
Right.
So, yeah, good on you, show.
Yeah.
So then we go to Hopper, who has driven over to the lab, and he is talking to the security guy up front, saying that we're here for a tour. And the guy's like, "Yeah, we don't do that. Like, what do you do, buddy?" And he says finally that, "Listen, there's a kid missing. I know that he's not in there. I need to check this place off my list." And the scene cuts off there, but we can keep talking about it if you want.
Yeah, that's fine. I liked everything with Hopper in this episode, honestly, because it shows he's really a good cop.
Mm-hmm.
He's paying attention.
Yeah.
And, they show him in the first episode as like, oh, he doesn't want to get up, he doesn't want to go to work, he's late coming to the office, but he's actually good at his job when all of a sudden there's something for him to be doing. I feel like before this, there wasn't really much for him to be doing in this town. The other thing that, my reaction to seeing the guard being like, oh, you can't come in here, it's the Department of Energy or whatever. I'm like, it's not an embassy. It's not like it's foreign soil. I assume it's within the jurisdiction of this county. Like, the cops should be able to go in there. Like, there may be stuff that's technically classified that they can't look at. That's fine. But you, like, to say you can't come onto this property, if I were the sheriff, I'd be like, yeah, I can.
Well, and it's like, if he's not saying, like, flat out you can't, he's saying you have to talk to some so-and-so about it, but he's not going to put forth the effort to actually go get that person.
Get that guy, yeah.
Which is the part that I always find the most amusing in things like that, where people are like, oh, you're going to have to do this and that, but they're making nothing happen.
Right.
Because I think that's just a bad customer service thing. But yeah, this, when he goes inside, this dude is like, really poo-pooing all of the theories that he has about how this kid could have crawled through this big storm drain. And, we've got all kinds of cameras and security, to which Hopper obviously is reacting like, yeah, you do, which is weird. Like, he's taking notes on a lot more than what this guy's saying. And later on, they're showing the security footage, and he had a reaction that I didn't really understand. Like, to me, it felt like it was just they weren't showing him the whole tape.
Right.
And I thought that's all it was. But
nope.
No, it turns out that it is, that there's no rain.
Yeah, it's fake tape. Hopper realizes immediately that it's fake.
Yep.
And he said, he says to his deputy, it was raining that night. Did you see any rain on that tape? Looks like we've got more work to do.
Yeah.
And the deputy's like, ugh. Yeah. And Hopper's got a mission now, Yep. He's actually motivated. So is that when they go to the library?
I think after that.
I don't know if there's something in between those two. I don't remember, but I loved the scene in the library.
Because you had said something about this.
I know. So there are a couple things I liked about this. First of all, that he's obviously fucked the librarian, and she is unhappy with him, and he's like, so.
Right.
But can you do your job now? Maybe we could go out sometime. Come on, let's get this done. And she's just like, ugh. And I love the old school card catalog that just gives me warm fuzzies. And so they go to the microfiche machines, which are just the worst thing in the entire world. I don't know if you ever had to use one of those things, which is just the
They
worst.
showed us how to use one, but I never actually had
Oh
to.
God.
Yeah.
It was some slow going with the microfiche machine. But so he's scanning through all these things. They look up the name of the head doctor at the facility, and they
Right.
find everything that's got his name in it.
Yep.
And so
And
one of the things they find
disappearances and
is, yeah, one of the things they find is saying that he worked on MK Ultra. And I immediately sent you a message. I was like, "It's MK Ultra." I was joking. I was totally joking that it was MK Ultra, but it was. MK Ultra is basically a brainwashing experiment that the
hmm
CIA did during the Cold War, and I don't actually know that much about what actually it involved because I've read so much conspiracy theory about things that it could have actually involved that I don't know the difference between reality and crazy. So all I know is the CIA did bad mind control stuff on people, and that's what MK Ultra was. And so they show him standing with like all these kids in hospital gowns, and so you immediately get this, and it's done again, so it's so smart. It's in the negative.
hmm
It's not, they're showing negatives of the story, not just like what you would see if you looked up a newspaper on the internet and you see the actual newspaper. It's in the negative, which is just like, the board has flipped over.
Yep.
Barb is in this, reverse side of the pool. That's what you're seeing him as in that picture, which I thought was really cool. And then there's a whole story on one of them about how he was accused of stealing someone's kid.
Yeah.
And that made me go, ding, 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 ding. Okay.
Yep.
That's interesting. We got kid stealing happening. And so, of course, Hopper sees that and thinks that they've stolen Will.
Right.
I assume that's what he would think from reading that, because he doesn't know what we know, which is that, like, yeah, he's stealing kids, but he didn't steal Will. That's a different thing.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing about this storyline is how much of this is actually about 11 and it's
Yes,
still leading him in the right direction, but it's just
exactly. It's
yeah.
like he's not, he doesn't realize he's not looking for Will anymore. He's looking for 11,
Mhm.
and he just doesn't know it.
Yep.
I really like that. So he is solving a mystery. It's just not the mystery he thinks he's solving, but it will probably get him to that eventually, I would assume. But
In the
it's
meantime, it's
fun to
super
watch.
confusing. Yeah.
Yeah. But I liked it. I like seeing that Hopper's smart and
Yes.
good at his job and working hard, and the actor's doing a really good job.
Oh, he's amazing.
He's really good.
I just like I don't there's an energy about him that I'm just like really drawn to. He would totally be the type that I'd be like, "What's going on with that guy?
Yeah.
What's his deal?" Which is probably bad judgment on my part because look at the librarian. Things did not go well.
Yes. No.
Oh my God. I
He's
love that. First, he's like, well, we can go out another time. And she looks at him just like, are you fucking kidding? And
yeah.
looks at his
Yeah.
partner. And then when they're at the card catalog and he's like, you take such and such. And she's just like, I just walks away.
No. No, that's not how
She's
this is going to work.
amazing. Okay. So
I
back.
like the implication that he's basically just fucked his way through this entire town since he
Yep.
was there. Like every woman was like, "Ooh, big city guy,"
Yep.
and he's like, "All right, that works," and
Yep.
then just blew all of them off because he's fucked the librarian, he's fucked Joyce, he's fucking this other woman who's apparently in his bed in the last episode.
Mhm.
He's just been busy, but not attentive. Let's say.
He's just been busy. That is a good way to say that. Yeah, it is I feel like there's a lot of the symptoms of somebody who's just trying to escape in so many ways. Literally, like, moves away,
Right.
is fucking everybody, getting drunk, obviously, all the time, and coming into work hungover. And it feels like this is maybe the first time that he has had something that he felt was worth staying sober for in a
Right.
while.
Right.
So yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
So back with 11, she's wandering around the house by herself, and she turns on the TV, and she comes across a Coca-Cola ad, and it
Oh,
causes this flashback. Um, the flashbacks with her are all just really uncomfortable and
oh, they're so
terrible.
bad.
So they're monitoring her brain activity with this cap and watching her through the glass, and she's staring at this Coke can until she finally crumbles it.
Right.
And it causes this nosebleed.
Nosebleed. Yeah.
And this is clearly like the first time that she's managed to do something like this. And it's just, she's staring at this pale asshole for some semblance of like any sort of real affection.
Right.
And he's just looking at her like Christmas is here. You
Yeah.
know, it's real creepy.
It's super creepy. And it's so sad to see her coming back to the television. I actually thought she was going to use her brain to crumple the television.
Oh, yeah.
Flashback. I'd be like, that'd be hard to explain to Mike's family.
Right?
Um, but she's like shaking and super upset.
Mm-hmm.
Poor thing.
Yeah.
Uh,
So we go from there to Joyce's house, and she's getting out all of her Christmas lights.
she gets all her Christmas lights and she doesn't have enough for what she wants to do.
Yep.
So she goes back to the store and slams down a
There's
zillion
gotta
more.
be like 60 boxes.
So many boxes and a new telephone.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
That also, and the telephone, it looks like it's a cordless phone because she's like, I got to make sure that that the headset isn't connected to electricity. If you look at the box,
Oh,
it's
I
not.
didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was kind of crazy to me because those must be super expensive at that point. I mean, those would be brand new. But it's not the same kind of phone she got last time.
Yep. Just
She's,
ring me up, Donald.
yeah. Oh my God.
She's so not going to have it. Because he's giving her a real judgy look. And I'm like, dude, you don't get to. Listen, this lady's going through some shit.
Yeah.
Just fucking shut up. This is not your job.
The way she said it too, there's one scene in Reality Bites where she uses the exact same tone of voice, and it was just so funny to hear, over 20 years later, like that exact same tone. And I'm like, maybe that character grew up to be Joyce. I mean, backwards in time, but I was like, I could see Lana ending up in this sort of situation. Mm-hmm. That's really where she's going to be when she's 45. But yeah, so she gets out all the Christmas lights to string them over everything. And is that when she ends up with the big wad of them inside the cabinet?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I'm like trying to, because I'm going through the episode to make sure that we're not missing things. And we're sort of running out of order. Yeah, so I'm not quite sure. Because the next thing that comes up is Hopper being led through the
place, yeah. The energy.
And then we go back to the house, and 11 is going through Nancy's room. Mm-hmm. And the little jewelry box that has the dancing ballerina in it, which I'm pretty sure like everybody had.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, it's so funny how often that comes up. Mm-hmm. And then we go to Nancy at school at lunch with the horrible friends who are terrible.
Oof, they're horrible and terrible, and I hate them.
And she asks, have you seen Barb? And this kid is like, I literally have no idea who you're talking about.
Oh, I just wanted to hit him so much. I was,
And you can see that Steve is actually a little embarrassed here.
Yeah.
As
he should be.
Yes. He's not laughing. He's reprimanding his friend while trying to not act like he's reprimanding him.
Right.
Because he doesn't want to be that guy.
Right.
But yeah, he's like, just, it just makes me happy every time Steve does something to differentiate himself from his dickhead friends.
Yeah.
Which, honestly, you gotta wonder.
It doesn't take much.
Yeah, like
they're so bad.
And she sees Jonathan passing by because he's, just kind of dropping more flyers off and checking in on things, I think, and then just
And then
bails.
he uses the dark room.
Right, that's right. I
Right.
forgot about that.
Yeah.
Which ends up going really well.
Yeah, that was swell. Good job.
This is
Maybe don't hang out all the pictures that you just took. I mean, I know you have to, but like, yeah. Don't hang
that
out your Peep and Tom pictures. That was worse than my hypothesis about the photomat. This is way worse. It's him literally standing in front of the evidence,
Yep.
like, hey, look at these pictures I took. And this girl walks in, who seems super friendly at first and then is not.
Yeah, then she spots it and she's like, "Oh wait, no."
Yeah.
Which I actually kind of like.
Yeah.
You know, like
She's
she
not
straight
wrong.
up should have done that. So good for you, girl. But yeah. And meanwhile, at the other school, um, Lucas is getting up in Mike's face a little bit about him liking Elle.
Mm-hmm.
I love you so much. Marry me. And they're in the middle of this little tiff, I guess, when the two bullies come up, knock him down, and he cuts his chin on a rock.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks pretty brutal, actually.
Yeah.
And Lucas is saying that this is the monster killer rock and is really happy with it. So, yeah. And Joyce is putting up all of these lights when Karen comes by with a casserole for her.
Oh, does Karen come by before she talks to him in the... I guess she does.
Mm-hmm.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she comes with the casserole and that adorable little girl who's basically dressed up like Gertie in E.T., which I liked.
That didn't even occur to me, but yes, that's
Yeah.
true. Oh man, that's funny. So yeah, they're talking, and this is like the kind of thing that I really, because it could have been super easy to make Karen this like, oh, I'm pretending to care because you're my neighbor and that's what I'm supposed to do, and also I'm sort of bored. And but it really feels like she does care. It's just that
Yeah.
she and Joyce don't really connect. That's all,
Right.
you know.
Yeah. Yep.
So I liked that.
Yeah.
It's just they're making most of the people in this not just
Horrible stereotypes. Like
yeah.
they're people with like you said, they just don't connect. I mean, I'm sure you've met people like that, right? There are people that you meet and you feel like you're not speaking the same language.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like they're bad people. It's just that when you're around them, you're like, I can't talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to say. Like everything you're referencing just goes right over my head. Everything I'm referencing goes over your head. We just are on different planes of existence somehow.
Yep.
And just talking past each other. And that's, these women have nothing in common.
Yeah.
And Karen is clearly trying, and Joyce is trying to just keep her brain in her head.
Right, yeah.
And, somehow stay connected to this conversation when it's literally the last thing she wants to be doing because it's kind of wasting her time.
Mm-hmm.
But she appreciates the effort that this woman is making.
Yeah.
So she feels like she has to sit and be polite and enjoy the casserole, or appreciate the casserole, I mean.
Casseroles are like universal something's wrong food.
They really are.
Somebody
and I have no
died,
desire to
somebody's
eat a
missing.
casserole, so I'm not looking forward to anything bad happening in my life. And people
Oh,
bringing
man.
me a casserole, I'd be like,
Casserole is super good though. Like
Nah.
if you
I mean, it
are a
depends
decent
on the
cook,
casserole, but
yeah. I made this really weird thing yesterday that wound up being super awesome. I had all this leftover rice, and I had goat cheese and a ton of onions, and I was like, all right. So I sauteed up a bunch of onions in butter and garlic, and mixed the rice and onions and goat cheese up in a food processor and poured it in a waffle iron and served salmon on top of it.
Huh.
And it was like this crispy goat cheese waffle and it was fucking delicious. It was so good. It was all crisp on the outside. Anyway, I just had to share that because I was trying to get them fried up in the pan and they were not getting crispy. And I was like, am I weird enough to try a waffle iron? Yep.
That's smart. You are resourceful.
Savory waffles. Who knew? So yeah, the baby, Holly, runs in the other room. All of the lamps start to go off, and then that hand starts to come through the wall or something.
Oh.
And they swoop in and grab her just in time, but Joyce is like, "Did you see something?" And she nods. She's like, "Yeah." And she's like, "What did you see?" And Karen's like, "Okay, calm the fuck
Yeah.
down." And Joyce is
Back
like,
up
"Yeah,
off my
you need to
kid. And then
go."
Joyce is like, you gotta go.
Yep. "Thank you for the casserole, but you need to leave." Like, she
Ugh.
gets intense.
Yeah. Ugh.
And then Nancy calls Barb's mom and just shows all of her cards.
Oh
That
yeah,
Barb
she
didn't
is
stay with me
not
last
slick
night. I
about
don't know
this
where
at
she is.
all.
Yeah, it's real bad.
So Barb's mom now is in a panic. So good job, Nancy.
Right?
You just, obviously her day was going to get bad at some point, but you just set it off. So, yeah. And yeah, she has no cover
No.
at this point. So now that Barb is clearly missing, and clearly Nancy was involved in this somehow, she realizes she's in deep shit.
Yep. Yeah, this is like this is something that I get real twitchy about because she then is like, "Oh, I forgot I saw her at the library."
Well, yeah, you did not forget. Why would you call her mom?
Yeah.
No.
So it's like
That's
if you're covering for the fact that she's missing, it's going to look suspicious on you later.
Yeah, you got to plan this out before you make this phone call. You
Yeah,
really got to
exactly.
cover your bases. I say that to my daughter is a terrible liar. She lies about things that are so easily fact checked. And I've said to her a bunch of times, I'm like, look, you gotta, A, don't lie, but B, if you're gonna lie, be better at it. This is pathetic. Like, if you tell me you didn't eat something, I can go to the cupboard and see that you ate it. This is not rocket science.
Yep.
Scramble, figure something out. You gotta go into this with some sort of cover story. You're 7, get it together.
This is like dudes who are lying about, who lie about things that, yeah, it's like, I can, in 2 seconds, find out whether you're telling the truth.
Yeah, don't bother lying about things that are so you can figure out the truth unless you have already come up with some sort of cover story, because otherwise you're just hosed.
Yep. Hosed.
Super hosed.
So
Nancy is not an experienced liar, I think is basically what this comes down to.
Exactly.
This is so out of her wheelhouse. Oy.
So the scene with the camera being smashed is next. And then
But
did you want to talk about that more?
Well, we don't need to really talk about it that much more, but because we kind of covered the main points, but it's worth noticing that one of the pictures that gets ripped up is the picture of Barb.
Right.
And when Nancy goes to grab the pictures, she doesn't just grab the scraps of herself, she grabs the one of Barb. Because that's, honestly, in that moment, that's the one she's more interested in.
Yeah. Yeah, this is
And she now knows that Jonathan saw Barb.
Yeah.
So that's an important factoid for Nancy trying to figure out going forward what could have happened. Because, now we know Jonathan saw her. And we now think he's a total creepazoid.
Yeah.
She's missing. What?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Interested to see what happens with that. Oh, poor Jonathan. I mean, not poor Jonathan. You should not have been taking those pictures, but poor Jonathan.
Just bad timing, bruh.
Yeah.
So then we have 11 waiting to meet the boys, and she sees a cat, and it causes this flashback of them in the lab trying to get her to hurt this cat that's in a cage, hissing at her.
Right.
It's so fucked up because she obviously does not want to be doing this.
Right.
And who starts a little girl off with a cat,
right.
guys?
Well, that reminded me a lot of, so there's a character in Marvel Comics called, well, she's now Wolverine, but she started out as X-23. She's basically a female clone of Wolverine.
Okay.
And she now, in the most recent Wolverine comic, has taken over the Wolverine role.
Okay.
But when she started out, this, this organization created her from his DNA and raised her from a baby basically to be a mindless killer.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things they did to her was they gave her, I believe it was a puppy, as like, so she basically lives in a cage. She lives in a padded room, and the only people she sees is this one female scientist that she considers her mother. And then they give her this puppy, and she bonds with the puppy, and then they make her kill the puppy.
Of course.
Because they have some sort of like weird pheromone that if they, expose her to the pheromone, she just becomes a mindless killing machine. And so she has to kill the puppy.
Aww.
I know. And so they're just, trying to make sure, is this going to work enough that it's going to bust through any emotional connection she has?
Mm-hmm.
Is this enough is the mind control strong enough to do that? And since there have been other X-Men references throughout the series, that's what stuck out to me. And that, they also did something similar to that on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but nobody gives a shit about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so who cares?
And there's also the Unsullied.
Oh, well, sure. That's right. They do that with the Unsullied.
Yeah.
But the Unsullied, they do a lot of stuff, too.
Yeah, they just don't count because that's just bananas.
Really, I mean, that's so low on the list. I mean, they're, no. I mean, what's worse, having your penis cut off or having to torture a small animal that you love? I mean, yeah.
I was going to say, those feel weirdly aligned somehow.
Yeah, they do. The Unsullied have a rough time of things.
Yeah, they do.
So this is sort of a common trope in a lot of ways. It was just that this is, set in a scientific institution, and so it reminded me really a lot of that X-23 bit. But so she can't do it. She won't do it.
Yeah.
She won't get the cat, and so she runs off.
No, she did.
She does. That's so it's they carry her. So that's the scene. It's the same time that they carry her off, isn't it? Or no, it's a different time. Because
no, it's the same time. Yep.
And she's screaming for Papa.
Yeah.
And they go to put her in the room.
Yep. And they throw her in there, and she gets up just before they can close the door. She throws one guy back against the wall.
Cracks the wall like so hard it just destroys the wall.
And the other guy, she just jerks her head, and his neck snaps.
She snaps his neck. Yeah.
Oh my god.
And Matthew Modine is so happy.
He's so happy.
And he loves her so much. Good job. Now I'm going to finally show you affection, my little brain murderer.
Oh my god. It's super creepy the way he picks her up. And I'm just like, no, stop it. Stop it.
Gross.
And
everything about him is gross.
She's obviously, like, the exertion of doing this takes a lot out of her because she like leans against the wall like she's going to collapse right after she does it.
Right. So that's why he carries her.
Yeah. So, but this was pretty badass though, I have to say.
Yeah.
The first time that I watched it, I didn't expect her to go around cracking necks right away.
Right. But it's good to, we're just getting a more full picture of what her abilities are. So don't fuck with Elle, I think is basically what it boils down to.
So yeah, he carries her away, and then we go back to her meeting up with the guys. They pick her up on their bicycles and go riding off. Which
is so E.T., like it's out of control E.T., her sitting on the front of his bicycle.
Yeah, like, and this is something that I feel like might bother me more if I remembered E.T. very well. I just haven't seen it in so long.
Oh, me too. But I mean, there are just some sort of iconic E.T. moments that have stuck with me over the years. And I'm not a huge fan of E.T. It was never one of those movies that I loved as a kid or anything. But having the extraterrestrial on your bike is pretty clearly an E.T. homage.
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean,
that's basically what she is at this point. Let's just, be clear. She's E.T. Hopefully she will become more than E.T., but right now she's Mike's E.T.
Yeah, this is I actually like got in a little bit of a Facebook argument with Rashawn's husband because she posted that she was going to watch the show, and he commented that this is just a bunch of unoriginal nostalgia crap, and I liked it better when it was called E.T. I liked it better when it was called Erie, Indiana. I liked it better when it was called The X-Files. And he goes through like a bunch of different comments saying all these things. And it just makes me so crazy when this is what people have an issue with, because like there is so much original, like 100% never seen anything like it kind of conceptual stuff in
Right.
so many movies and TV shows that are done badly.
Yeah.
Just something being original is not any indicator of whether it's good.
Right. And
Sometimes things
it's
are original
I
because nobody's done it before, because it actually turned out to be unworkable.
yeah, it was a bad idea. But what he's even what he's saying there is true in some ways, but how many shows are able to combine that many influences
Mm-hmm.
into a single cohesive whole
Mm-hmm.
the way that this has? Because yeah, there's a ton of references to other stuff and it's all clearly on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just them being derivative, it's them seeing, how many of these different shows that and movies that we've all had, and books that we've all had these emotional connections to, can we put together and make it into its own original thing? I think
Mm-hmm.
that's interesting.
Agreed. Yeah, it just like it got under my skin so bad, because I was just like, just let people have fun. Like, come on, dude. I don't care if things aren't a totally original. If it's done well, it doesn't have to be totally original. And
Yeah.
the thing about like I totally understand if you feel like something relied so completely on that as to be at the expense of story or whatever else. But this show is something that I feel confident. If you had never seen any of the stuff that he was referencing,
You
this would
still
still
enjoy
be
it.
awesome for you.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even remember when the last time was I saw E.T. I think I was 6 years old.
Yeah, right.
Like I have never seen Erie, Indiana. I
I loved Erie, Indiana.
like
It's terrible. So don't go watch it. But when I was 10, it was great.
there's just a lot of stuff in there that, and he was like, and nobody should bother doing it again, because once somebody like Spielberg, who is the master, does it perfectly, you don't need to go in and try and do it again yourself. And I'm like, oh, okay. So somebody does a story about an alien on a bicycle, and we're just never allowed to have bicycles or weird creatures again. Okay.
That's it. No more bicycles.
No
We're
more.
done with bicycles.
But yeah.
Check that one off the list of things we can put in movies.
And that's something that I'm really having to come to terms with writing my own series, that I'm, get caught up in, like, but this has been done before. And yeah, like most things have been done before.
Oh yeah.
I just have to kind of get over it. And it helped a lot talking to a friend who is also writing something. And she's like, yeah, I'm not trying to be totally original. I'm just trying to write something that's fun to read. And it just took the pressure off mentally so much. I was like, oh, that, yeah, I just
Totally.
don't really have that. I don't have the problem or the hang up with it. But, whatever. Just one of those things that got my goat yesterday a little bit. Owen shared in response to his comments that comic where somebody's pinching the other person's lips closed and going, shh, let people enjoy things.
Right, right.
So yeah, let's see. We have the boys going through the woods on their bikes for a little bit longer here, and we quickly go back to Nancy, who is she blows off hanging out with Steve, who is obviously not sure how to take that. Like,
Yeah,
he's very surprised because this is not something that happens to him.
right.
And she goes to his place to try and find Barb, and finds Barb's car, and
Yeah.
is just, mystified. She goes into the yard, and she's walking around, and something runs by her.
Yeah.
We don't actually see what it is. We just see a shadow pass in front of the camera. But she seems to see it pretty clearly,
Yeah.
because she books it the fuck out of there.
Yeah, she freaks the fuck out.
Yep. And we jump from there to the scene with the lights in Joyce's house.
Yeah.
So she's like,
doing a blink once for yes and twice for no
Yes.
situation.
Yep.
Which is Joyce is resourceful, I'm
Yeah,
going to
she
say.
is.
Her coming up with the idea then where she paints the letters on the wall
Mm-hmm.
and strings the lights under the letters. I'm like, that's brilliant.
Right?
That is so smart. Good job, Joyce. How are
Yeah.
you keeping your head together that well?
It's the kind of thing that it's like, yes, it's a brilliant idea and it works out really well,
But
but
it's if anybody
also,
walked in, it would look psychotic.
yes, yes. Like as she started
Absolutely
doing this,
psychotic.
I was like, I really hope her son doesn't come home just right
No,
now. Like,
no.
oh man. Um, so
Yeah,
yeah.
she's gone full beautiful mind here,
Mm-hmm.
painting all over the walls. Yeah, she looks like an absolute nutcase, but she's right.
Yep.
So that's so sad. Like, no, 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 she's not having like a schizophrenic break. She's correct.
Yeah.
I
And it breaks my heart that I have so little like faith or imagination that if this were happening, I would never believe she was not crazy.
right.
Like, once upon a time, I was the person who would believe, and I somewhere along the way I am not that person anymore, and it makes me super bummed. Um, but yeah, she's blinking like it starts blinking. She asks him if he is alive. He says yes. She asks if he is safe.
He
He
says,
says no.
"Oh,
And the gut wrench, like that's all over her face
mhm."
when she gets that second blink. She's just like, oh my God. And then she starts to paint the letters on the wall.
Right." She's just going, "Tell me what to do. Tell me what to do. I don't know what to do."
Yep.
And then paints the letters on the wall. And we get some fun messages.
Yeah. So she says, where are you? I need to come get you. Tell me where you are. He says, right here.
Uh-huh.
And she's like, thanks, but that's not helpful.
Yeah.
She's like, I
Because
don't know
no,
what
you're
that
not.
means.
So I don't know what to do with that information.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then what do I do? Tell me
And
what to do.
and then he writes run.
Yep. And she's like
Uh,
in the middle of like this puzzled face run, and you see the thing come out of the wall behind her.
the thing.
Right?
Oh my God. So bad. It reminded me of like so many crazy, creepy, faceless monster creatures that it's like even too hard to like list all the references.
Right, yes.
I'm like, that's those things from Mockingjay Part 2 that attack them in the sewers.
I
That's
didn't
clearly,
see
oh yeah. Oh, it's very much those things. And it's, what was the other thing that immediately, oh, it's like the monsters from Pan's Labyrinth.
that. Oh
Uh,
God, I haven't watched that movie. I'm afraid to.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, it's practical effects. It's not CGI. It's a guy in a creepy fucking faceless thing coming through your wall.
Yep.
Yikes!
Yeah, and this is another example of, is it original to have a creature come out of your wall? No. But this is when it's done really fucking well, that it doesn't matter if it's been done before. It's scary as a motherfucker.
Yeah,
Especially
because I was
because,
not expecting that. I was really not expecting something to come. Actually, like the hands in the wall. Like I thought that was going to be the extent of the stuff with the wall.
oh, okay.
I didn't think something was actually going to come through. Oh my God.
And yeah, the like it busts out of there, and there's something about like, to me, the invasion of her home space
Ugh,
that is just so like fundamentally,
terrifying. And
yeah.
yeah.
um
Well, it's like, I've had things stolen from my outside my house before, and it
mhm,
just makes you feel so sick to your stomach. Like
mhm,
someone was here, someone was messing with my stuff, somebody was in my place, and you
mhm,
just don't feel safe in your home anymore.
mhm.
This is that ramped up to like a million.
Right.
Like, yeah, my car got stolen out of my driveway and it freaked me the fuck out. And I didn't want to look out the windows at night because I thought there was going to be a creepy guy out there staring at me. But at least it wasn't a monster from like an evil dimension who'd already stolen my kid. Like, there's a difference between stealing my car and stealing my child.
Right.
So it's literally, I'm like, yep, nope, I get that, and it's a million times worse. I'm gonna go with a million as my multiplication here. It's 8 million times worse. But it really does feel invasive to have something like that happen to you.
Yeah, and it's like somebody stealing your car. It's like, well, I'll lock it. I'll get an alarm. I'll do it. There's nothing to be done about this situation.
Yep, there's just a monster in your house.
Yep.
Ah,
And I kind of love that while this is happening, like it feels like it's simultaneous, but she is talking to him, and outside, the boys are arguing with Elle because she led them to Mike's house.
Will's house.
Or Will's house, yes.
Yeah.
And they are really pissed off because they feel like she's just been conning them the whole time. They're like,
he's
not
obvious
here,
not.
you dumbass. Yeah. So yeah, apparently they crawl out or they turn around and leave just before Joyce comes running out of the house, flipping out because of this monster.
Right.
And they leave because they see a cop car go by.
Right.
And they follow the trail. It apparently goes down to like the water's edge at the quarry. And surprise, were you surprised by this?
Not necessarily, but I don't think it's really him.
So who do you think it is?
I don't know. They didn't show the body close up enough for me to be able to say, if you pull a body out of the water that's been there for a few days, it's not going to necessarily be identifiable right away because
Gotcha.
water will fuck up your corpse that you got on your hands. So it's in his clothes, but they don't show his face. So I'm like, I don't know. That could, because I don't believe it. I just don't believe it. I don't believe that it's as simple as he turns up in the river. That seems crazy. There's no way. So, like, that, because that'd be the end of the show. There's more to this mystery. And even Hopper is, he's saying, please don't let it be the kid. And I think it's half because obviously he doesn't want it to be the kid, but half because he's like, that doesn't seem right. Because there's obviously this whole other thing going on that he's clued into.
Yeah.
So I don't. If they show me a body and it's got his face, fine, then I'll believe it. But I haven't watched the next episode yet, so as of right now, that's just somebody in his clothes. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. You're not fooling me, show.
I mean,
no way.
If it is just somebody else in his clothes,
that could be a setup. That's a setup by the energy guys.
But who? I mean, they just got another kid's body.
They've got other kids, I think.
Okay.
Like they could kill a kid in the water to throw them off track. I don't know. There's enough other stuff going on here that I just don't buy it, and I think it's at least partially there to try and provide closure to a bunch of storylines when obviously there should not yet be closure to those storylines. We're not even halfway through. No way.
Do you think it's possible that Will's body is dead, but he's not?
Sure, I guess that's a thing that could be true. That he's just somewhere else.
Well, because here's my thing: is that I get what you're saying that it could just be somebody else in his clothes, but they traditionally, when they find a body, they have the family come identify the body.
Oh, sure. Yeah. But we haven't seen that yet.
True.
And right now, Joyce is just standing there crying with Jonathan. Right. So
she was caught running, screaming from a monster in the middle of the road. And yeah, then Jonathan finds her.
She's having a bad night.
Real bad day.
Oh, she's had a lot of bad days, but this one's going to be real bad. But yeah, no, that makes sense. That, I just don't understand the specifics of what's going on in this, flip side place
Mm-hmm.
to be able to say, could the body be separated from, some whatever other consciousness there is,
Mm-hmm.
So, and, Elle said he's hiding. Maybe he's hiding by ditching his body.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, I don't know.
Seems
And
real
I just,
inconvenient, but you
yeah,
know.
I don't know. I don't know what you're able to do in this crazy snowflake dark side world. But yeah, so I don't know. They still got me wondering, and it's still really hard not to go on to the next episode because I watched this on Saturday,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe it was even Friday. I might have watched it like the same day after we recorded last. And then I was like, oh no. Oh, why did I do that? Because I
Well,
knew
we're
I just
scheduled
wouldn't
to
have time.
record tomorrow, so you
I
can watch
know.
the next one right away at least.
I got a busy day in front of me because we're recording Agent Carter tonight too,
Yes.
and so then I have to, after we do that, immediately go and watch this episode because I won't be able to watch it. I don't think before we record because my kids are around, and this is just not a watch with the kids in the house kind of show.
Yeah.
It is apparently for my husband, but that's a whole other story. They don't bother him when he's on his computer. They bother me when I'm on my computer.
They love you so much.
They do. It's adorable. One day I will have autonomy as a human being. I actually say that to my son a lot because he's just all over me all the time. And I'm like, I am a person with physical autonomy. He doesn't understand what any of those words mean, but it just makes me feel better to say it. But yeah, and then we get Mike screaming at poor Elle.
Yeah.
And even Lucas is like, dude,
Yeah.
don't do this.
Yeah,
and
Lucas has been like totally not on Elle's side from like minute one.
But here,
And,
because
yeah.
he's obviously so emotionally, it's interesting to see how they react differently emotionally in this situation, where Mike gets angry and Lucas looks like he's been punched in the stomach and starts crying. So it's interesting to see the one who's been sort of the tough guy the whole time be the one who's crying, and the one who's been sort of the empathetic, emotional one is the one who's immediately filled with rage. I like that. And then Dustin, I don't know, maybe he just wants food. I don't remember what he does in this scene, what his reaction is, other than just like, dude, that sucks. No, boo. But I liked the sort of 180s you get out of Lucas and Mike.
Lucas, I feel like crying makes sense in terms of somebody who has been suspecting that their friend is dead already. Like, he's much more pragmatic that way.
Yeah.
And then, with Mike, it's like, not only was he like 100% sure that Will wasn't dead, but it's also a personal betrayal of this girl that he has obviously developed a crush on. And so there's two layers of just his faith being broken, you know? So anger, that would definitely be my reaction. If I had been going through it the way that he was, I could totally see that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And then don't they show him going home too? And Nancy's already there telling them about Barb being missing. And so it's just the whole family is now in total disarray.
Yep. And his mom gets up and gives him a hug.
Right.
So we see him getting a hug from his mom while he's crying, and then we see Joyce
with Jonathan.
Yeah, and that's the end of the episode.
Oh, I gotta find a time to watch the next one. God damn it.
Yeah, I'm really like, Owen is super happy that we're not covering this together because last night we were able to watch 3 in a row.
I know, and he was posting about it on Facebook too, and he just kept saying, "This is so awesome," and I was like, "I'm gonna follow you."
Yeah, and I finally got to watch the final episode because I had to put it off because he was home.
Right.
And I was just so happy with it. Like, it's not perfect. There are definitely some things that I'm like, yeah, but what about this though? Right. But they kind of actually are like, yeah, we know. almost address it, and it's just it's a very satisfying finale because I was worried, how do you wrap up something that's this big?
Bizarre, yeah.
Yeah. And how do you wrap it up in a way that doesn't feel, because I want a second season.
Hmm.
And
I think
that,
they've already said there's going to be a second season,
did they?
or at least it seems to be like
Likely.
presumed, and from what I've seen in the last couple days.
Um, so yeah, I was like, I want them to be able to end it well, but not so well that it feels like a second season is going to be hard to pull off.
Right.
And because
Like
they're
True Detective or something like that.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah, where it's just like, but then what?
Yeah.
So I was just very, very happy because ending things is tough, and I think they figured out a really good way to do it. So I think you'll be pleased with it too. Hopefully, we'll
But I
see.
can't see it for another 2 weeks.
I think it was great that they stuck with just 8 episodes too. I think that's part of why
Yeah,
it's so strong.
right.
Um,
I just don't see how they're going to wrap this up in 8 episodes. There's so much weirdness that they
right?
haven't explained yet. And I'm like, we're almost halfway through,
Hmm.
and I still don't know what's going on.
Yep.
So I'll have faith. You seem to be happy with where it goes. So
And like I said, it's not perfect. There's some stuff
right.
that I'm sure you are also going to be like, and I'm going to have no answer for you.
Okay. Well, yeah,
So,
but that's sort of the nature of shows like this. I'm not expecting absolute answers to
yeah.
everything. I'm used to that as a fan of like sci-fi or fantasy or just weirdo shows. Like you could like I was such a huge fan of Lost
Hmm.
that, by halfway through the last season, which I pretty much hated,
Hmm.
I came to terms with the fact that I was like, all the questions that I thought were important, the people making this show did not think were important, and they are not going to get answered. And I'm just going to have to be like, well, okay.
That's a good way to frame that.
Yeah,
That it's just I thought these were important and they didn't.
right.
Because I think that is really at the root of what it was so frustrating for me. It was like that the
About Lost or about,
yeah,
yeah.
the concepts that they came up with were really interesting, and it felt like the concepts were the last thing they actually cared about. And I was like,
Yeah.
but that's the whole thing. And
Right. They started being
yeah.
like, no, the whole time we cared about the characters. That's why there were the flashbacks. And I'm like, yeah, but sure, the characters are great, but
Hmm.
why? Why did this happen? Why was this happening on the island? What are those things? Why? What? And then they're like, well, we'll do this one episode that explains absolutely nothing, but it's a flashback to Alice and Janney. And I'm like, okay, that episode was the one that made me go, okay, they're not going to answer anything I care about.
Hmm.
Like that episode made it very clear to me. And so I was able to go into the finale with expectations that were like, I'm not getting answers and I just have to be okay with it. And everybody else was like, blah, about the finale. And I'm like, no, no, no. If you went in with different expectations and were like, this is just going to be emotional closure for the characters because that's what the creators cared about the whole time, but
Hmm.
it's not what most of the viewers cared about. But they were just like, fuck you, we don't care about the viewers. This is a story we were telling the whole time. And I was like, but it's not the story we thought we were watching.
Yep.
Um, but that's fine. So then I was able to like emotionally connect to what ended up happening at the end of the show and be like, all right, that's fine.
Hmm.
And I knew they said very early on with Lost that they knew exactly what the last shot was going to be. And when they said that, I was like, well, then I know exactly what the last shot is going to be because I remember what the first shot was. And so the last shot is obviously going to be the exact opposite of the first shot. And I was right. So I was like, I was finally right about something on Lost. Good job, me. Everything else I might have been right about, but they never told us. So I'm just going to continue thinking I was right. But that one I knew.
That's something that I think is really key with Game of Thrones too. It's like they it's not it's the TV show, they just have different priorities.
Yeah,
And I'm just, I'm having to be like, all right, like
that's what they're doing. Yeah.
yeah,
It's
and
not the same stuff we care about in the books. It's what they care about in the show. And you just kind of have to.
it's like
Accept.
like you said, the priority is different. Like for me, the stuff that I find to be so great in the books is the character development and the like some of the events, the way that they happen is
Right.
what's important. And they are much more focused on hitting plot beats, and
Yep,
that's pretty
that's
much it.
all it is. And it's hitting plot beats, and they're so much more focused on the actual Game of Thrones on the
Mm-hmm.
show, which the books I feel like make very clear that that's really peripheral.
Mm-hmm.
That all these people jockeying for whatever positions, that's not what the point should be, and they're all missing the point.
Yep.
And the show does that a little bit because it's just periodically they'll be like
They'll
John stands up
stumble
and goes,
into
"But
it.
winter is coming," and everybody's like, "Yeah." But this
Yep.
is what's interesting for us to watch is people fighting and blowing shit up, and whatever. We'll
Yep.
do that. And dragons, lots of things on fire, and I'm like, okay, fine. I mean, it's cool. The way they do it is cool, but it's still just very shallow compared
Yeah.
to the depth of the books. And it has to be.
Exactly. It
So
does
you just
have
have to
to be.
let it go to a certain extent, but it's hard for
It's really
people.
hard when I feel like there are ways they could do it better.
Uh
But
huh.
but
But we're not writing the
but
show, so
exactly.
if they don't want to get into like the way they did stuff in the North, if they don't want to get into Manderley, if they don't want to get into Barbary, what's her name? They don't want to do all the stuff with them actually in the castle for an entire book, which is
Mm-hmm.
basically what Dance of Dragons is. Dance of Dragons. They're not going to do that. They're just going to have like an empty Winterfell that like a Karstark and an Umber show up in, and it's like the only people in the entire castle.
Right.
Like, okay, it's just going to be really different. That's fine. It doesn't make sense to me, but I'll go with it.
Right.
Because they just couldn't figure out how to do it in a way that would be compelling to, I guess, an audience that they think just wants plot beats.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, I think that's really what it comes down to is just sort of, I don't even want to say underestimating the audience, but just feeling like the audience for a TV show is going to have different interests than the audience for a book.
yeah,
And that's fair.
that's fair.
But it's definitely seeing it as they just have a different priority. I like that as a way of explaining it because otherwise you start to go a little crazy.
Yeah. That's sort of how season 5 was.
Right.
Was just like, what are you doing?
Yep.
What are you doing? Season 6 brought it back a little bit.
Yes, definitely.
Season 5 was really hard to just be like, I know I'm supposed to be just understanding you have different priorities, but your priorities suck.
Your
and
priorities
you're doing
are stupid and they don't make any fucking sense. Yeah.
Season 6 redeemed that to a certain degree. I just am going to pretend that season 5 was just, why am I blanking? The big fight with the zombies.
Hard home?
Hard Home.
Yes.
That's all that happened in season 5 was Hard Home. The rest of it, I'm just tossing out the window. Don't care. Jamie never went to Dorne. What? No. Forget it. Didn't happen. I'm just going to choose to ignore it. It was just Hard Home was all that happened that entire season.
Yeah.
John went north and got an awesome giant and came back. That's it. That was the whole season. 10 episodes. I don't know what you guys were watching.
Oh, man. Yeah, they definitely brought it back together with this season.
Yeah, but doing something with such a limited amount of episodes available to you that's so dense is hard. And so doing this show where they had clearly a limited number of episodes, they had to go in with certain priorities. And so I'm going into it being like, there's no way they're going to explain everything in 8 episodes. So I'm able to set that aside and just be like, yep, okay. Here we go.
Writing is probably harder than I think it is. Let's just say that. But yeah, I'm really glad that you're enjoying this so much. I'm super happy that we got covered so that we could do this. Like, I'm really thrilled about it.
Yeah.
And I just thank you everybody so much for making this happen. Hopefully we can do this again with another Netflix show that comes out. Because I have to be. This is probably, other than maybe Narcos, and I think much more than Narcos. Narcos was a show that came out on Netflix. I think it was called Narcos, right? Was that the one that with Oberyn Martell?
With Oberyn, yeah.
And people were immediately like, this show, this show, this show, but it hadn't really gotten a lot of ads ahead of time.
Right.
And the Marvel shows get a ton of attention beforehand.
Right.
But this was one that Jamie actually commented on the Facebook page for the show that there were trailers for like a month out, but it was just nobody talked about them. You know,
Yeah.
nobody knew anything. So this is probably, out of all the Netflix series that have come out, been the one that has the most organic word of mouth.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm seeing it everywhere. The day it came out, I had like a couple messages from people, posts on the group, and then other groups that I was in, people were like, is anybody watching this? Oh my God.
Right.
So, damn Netflix. All right. I hope that
Yeah.
they get another one of these out there at some point.
Yes.
Not just this show, but you know, something that has this kind of fire with it.
Yeah. Agreed.
What do they call it? Lightning in a bottle. That's
Yes. It's a
the
good
one.
way of putting it.
Is there anything that you wanted to add, ma'am?
No, I think that's about it. I'm really excited to watch another one. We're going to do this again tomorrow, so yay.
Yay! Yeah, I'm not going to do the whole like greeting and everything since this is a special edition, but if you guys want to support the show, please leave reviews. This is going to be up on iTunes as soon as Apple gets around to fucking approving it. It's up. I submitted it like 2 days ago. And also, you can go to patreon.com/unspoiled and support the show that way. Or you can go to unspoiledpodcast.com/Amazon and shop and bookmark it to do all of your Amazon shopping. And I get a little bit of credit for it. And it comes out of Amazon's pocket, not yours. So it works out really well. But I'm not going to go into all of the other announcements that I have because I'm trying to keep this show sort of short and sweet.
All right.
So, yeah. Thank you, everybody.